it's a major problem. It's a challenge. Basically, we have almost about 57% of the mental health issues are among men compared to about 43% for women.
Because of our cultural perspectives, men should not show any vulnerability, men should not show emotion.
It's good that when you find yourself at that space, to seek for mental health support.
In Kenya, thousands of men wake up each morning carrying invisible burdens of stress, pain, shame, and silence. You won't always see it. It doesn't announce itself. It hides behind handshakes and hearty laughs, behind early mornings and late nights, behind the brave faces of men who have been taught that showing emotion is weakness. But behind that quiet strength, behind the daily hustle, behind the silence is a hidden crisis: depression. Depression doesn't always look like sadness. Sometimes it looks like anger, sudden, sharp, and misunderstood. Sometimes it looks like a man drinking alone late at night. Sometimes it's the one who no longer picks up calls, who withdraws, who goes to work and comes home in silence. It's the man you'd least expect, the border rider who greets everyone with a smile, the university student who always makes others laugh. They carry it all without complaint, without help, and far too often without hope. Our culture reveres strong men, the providers, protectors, decision makers. But what happens when that strength is stretched thin, or when life breaks a man down and there is no space for him to say, "I'm not okay"? For generations, men have been raised to suppress, to push through, to endure in silence. But silence can be deadly, because the truth is, depression is real. And for far too long, it has been dismissed, ignored, or misunderstood. But today, we break the silence. We start the conversation, not just to raise awareness, but to change lives. To build a world where the men are allowed to feel, to speak, and also to seek help. A world where strength includes vulnerability and where healing is not shameful.
My name is Eric Chalo. I am a counseling psychologist. And mental health, we focus on the men's feelings, emotions, and of course, some of the stresses that they go through in different phases of life.
Globally, around 3% to 5% of men experience depression each year, with lifetime prevalence estimated between 7% and 12%. Now, how common is depression in Kenya?
Right now in our country, it's a major problem. It's a challenge. Basically, we have almost about 57% of the mental health issues are among men compared to about 43% for women. So basically, it's men who are passing through a lot of serious mental health issues as compared to our ladies. And it cuts across the board, not just in urban centers, but also in the rural villages. And we believe in the rural villages has been much challenging because they do not have that space to be able to express as compared possibly with people in urban centers.
In many African societies, traditional expectations shape how men are supposed to think, feel, and behave, often at the expense of their mental health. From a young age, boys are taught to be that man who is strong, stoic, and emotionally restrained. As a result, many African men suffer in silence, leading many to suppress their feelings, often turning to alcohol, isolation, or anger instead of seeking help.
When you look at the traditional aspect, a man was supposed to be this person who provides, a person who is able to protect, and a person who is not supposed to express how they feel, express their emotions. And right now we are living in a very different community and society where now a man is expected to become a modern man. So a man has to balance. Is he going to become a modern man, or does he have to embrace the traditional idea of masculinity? And that becomes a challenge for the man. So he has to define himself.
What are some of the things that push a man to the edge when no one sees him falling?
The whole issue of economic empowerment. Right now, many men do not have jobs. And those that had jobs, possibly they were sacked. Those that had businesses, the business have gone down, and you do not know what to do. You're looking the near future, and it's bleak. It's totally bleak. You don't know what to do. So you decide to fold in, to go into your own cocoon. The second thing was the whole issue of not being able to take care of your family, taking care of your children, their basic needs, and taking care of your spouse. That because of that, you're not able to relate well with your immediate family members. You're not able to relate well with your other relatives. You're not able to relate well even with your peers, because you tend now to close in and seclude yourself.
I talked about identity. When you have very low self-esteem and you have issues that you are yet to deal with, it becomes very hard for you to be able to know actually what you want in life. Where now a man has not defined who he is and he hasn't discovered himself.
Depression in men can often look different from the classic signs people might expect, because many men don't always display the textbook symptoms of persistent sadness or tearfulness that are commonly associated with depression.
Symptoms of depression: one is you seclude yourself, you go into your own cocoon. Second, you just have displeasure in anything. You are not interested in work, you are not interested in family, you are not interested in your peers. And the third thing would be in some other way, or you pick some other behaviors that you do not have as a way of trying to manage the depressive symptoms.
You find yourself either sleeping too much or hypersomnia or insomnia when you're not finding sleep. And of course, sometimes when you feel like, when you get suicidal ideations, we usually say in suicide, there are different ways to know that actually you're really getting there. You can have an idea, but again, there's a space where you even get, and the idea is brought into, you want to implement that idea. Also indulging, binge drinking, that can also be a factor because you're trying to run away from something. It's a way of coping through that stage.
Alcohol becomes now your friend to suppress your emotions and how you're feeling. The other one will be irritability, a lot of irritability. You don't want people to talk to you, and you are very aggressive and very abusive, or you become very quiet. You do not talk to anybody.
Your wife is not able to engage with your children, are afraid of you. You're messing up workplace. Everyone is, saying, you need to change, you need to, and all those factors.
The other one that we notice is that you immerse yourself in work if you have some work. Like nowadays, those of us that are working from home with your computer, you are on your computer throughout. So you really have no time to go out there, interact with your friends, maybe take a walk or do anything. You are just on your computer, from there to the bed, back to the computer. So basically you have closed yourself with this new modern way that now we can do work at home. We think that it has its own privileges and disadvantages, because eventually that's what causes depression. There is issues of appetite. There's a problem with your appetite. It can be either you might not eat or eat too much, or fatigue. Every time you are very tired. Now, mtaani, people tend to go, maybe there is some guys who are playing this draft, somebody every day, not going to work, not doing anything, every day. And this was a very productive person, a productive man. But all of a sudden, he now goes to the Wazee wa Mtaa there, playing draft every day, morning to evening, every day, morning to evening. And you wonder what has happened to this man. This was a professional. This was a man who had a very good job. What happened to him? But maybe that's his own way of trying to manage the stressors, trying to manage the levels of the mental health. For him, he might think they are correct, but eventually they'll narrow down now to that depressive disorder.
With depression, diagnosis is often through a careful and comprehensive assessment by a qualified healthcare professional, usually a doctor, psychologist, or psychiatrist.
It's good that when you find yourself at that space, to seek for mental health support. That can include maybe reaching out to a therapist, mental health therapist, or a counseling psychologist, or a clinical psychologist. And most importantly, I think when you reach out to a counseling psychologist, they can help you get a psychiatrist can actually tell you have depression. Because people say I have depression, but that is not what you're going through. Maybe you're having stresses. There are normal stresses of life. Everyone will have a stressor at one point and you get stressed. But again, you can move from acute stress to chronic stress. So chronic stress, you can find yourself at the onset of some of these symptoms.
Coming up after the break.
How confidential are these services in our country? A lot of people cite reasons of, I'll go and open up to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and how secure is my information, because some issues are very sensitive.
But we're able now to ask him to open the door. We're able to talk to him as friends.
Look into yourself and ask yourself, what works for me in regards to self-care? Do I need to start going to social spaces and interact with people? Do I need to have close family members for support as a support system?
As we've seen, depression in men often wears a different face, one that's quiet, hidden, and too often misunderstood. But the silence doesn't have to last. Recognizing the signs is the first step towards healing. When we begin to speak openly, seek help, and support one another, we break the stigma and offer hope. Stay with us. After the break, we shall speak to Margaret, a clinical psychologist, one-on-one, as she gives us more insights into men's mental health and depression in Kenya. And now for a short healthcare tip. If you've been feeling constantly exhausted, irritable, withdrawn, or simply not like yourself for more than a few weeks, don't brush it off. This could be signs of depression, and ignoring them won't make them go away. Men often feel pressured to appear stronger and hold in everything. But the truth is, strength lies in acknowledging when you're struggling and reaching out for support. Whether it's talking to a friend, opening up to a loved one, or seeking help from a mental health professional, taking that first step could change everything. Your mental health matters. Taking care of it is not a weakness, it is an act of courage.
We are living in a lost and broken world, constantly bombarded by messages of hate and atrocities. But with God, we can overcome. Find hope and restoration on the go through life-changing shows on the Family Media app.
And then you will lose yourself and gain the world. And Jesus said, what good is it?
Get to stream Family TV and Family Radio 316 straight from your phone. Catch up on a show you missed or create video streaming playlists by saving and watching videos from our huge variety of shows at your own convenience. Download the Family Media app, available for all Android and iOS users on the Google Play Store and Apple Store respectively. Family Media, keeping Jesus on the airwaves.
Welcome back. In the first part of this episode, we unpacked how depression in men often hides behind silence, anger, and physical symptoms, making it easy to miss and hard to talk about. Next, we shall continue to hear from our mental health professionals who shed light on why men suffer in silence and the barriers that keep them from seeking help. But first, let us speak to Margaret, a clinical psychologist, one-on-one.
We live in a society where people often encourage each other to be strong. You know, be strong, be strong.
Yes.
What can you tell us about this be strong thing and how it translates in the world of mental health and how it affects the people who are being told that?
I think in our society, and especially our African society, we are not known to show vulnerability. So a sense of strength or a sense of kujikaza is seen to be one of the things that shows, quote unquote, some form of resilience. But we need to start realizing that we are human beings who can feel, human beings who can feel overwhelmed. And most of the time, this Get Strong sometimes does not really allow us to feel that strength. And most of the time, you'll find that most people, because of being told be strong, most of the time we will bottle up our emotions. Most of the time we will not talk about our emotions because the society tells us that we need to be strong. The society tells us that we should not show vulnerability. The society again tells us that if we show vulnerability, then you don't know how to be strong, then your form of resilience is not being seen. So when we keep emphasizing being strong in a society that where we believe that, we know that there are a lot of things that can unfortunately shake us, and it is okay. But when we don't normalize that we need to talk about some of these things, these are some of the things that are making us bottle up a lot of emotions, and without us knowing, we are presenting with a lot of mental health issues.
And tell me about the stigma around men's mental health particularly.
Okay, you know, we again in our society, men are seen to be providers, men are seen to be a source of strength, men are seen again to be a source of a lot of resilience. And because of our cultural perspectives and even societal expectations, men should not show any vulnerability, men should not show emotion. So again, we find that this, unfortunately, and again, we find that men are, a sense of masculinity is when you are able to just show up for and to be seen as if you are able to balance everything. But then we realize that this is what the society has told men. And so men, even when they are having some emotional concerns or they are feeling weak, there's no space to show that they are feeling weak because the society expects them to show up strong. Again, the society stigmatizes a man who is going to show weakness because most of the time you'll hear sayings like, why are you not man enough? Because man enough means you have everything figured out. But most of the time you find that that is not the case. And that is where you find that our men will struggle with mental health issues and they will have a lot of emotional distress, but they will not share it out. And so what is their easiest way out? Most of the time that is where you'll find men using a lot of substances because you'll find as much as women also are using substances, but you'll find a greater percentages in men.
Another issue is how confidential are these services in our country? A lot of people cite reasons of, I'll go and open up to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and how secure is my information, because some issues are very sensitive.
I trust one of the ethical concern, that's an ethical concern that most of the time people have. And because we have been conditioned, we're in a society that has conditioned us that there are things that we don't speak out. So most of the time people will have that concern. But one of the ethical guidelines that guide us as psychologists, as healthcare providers, as psychiatrists is confidentiality. Confidentiality is one of the key things that we uphold in our profession. Yes, there are limits of confidentiality, and some of the limits of confidentiality we discuss with clients, because if they are posing a harm to themselves or to others, then unfortunately we need to break confidentiality. We have issues where most of the time maybe there's a report that is needed by the court or a report that is needed by the school or even an employer, but most of the time we'll discuss what are the things that we are going to disclose. So confidentiality is something that we really uphold, and I would like to encourage people that yes, it is a normal concern, but this is something that we really uphold, and everything that is discussed or is put in is discussed in some of these spaces is really upheld in a high level of confidentiality.
Beyond the clinical symptoms, stigma plays a powerful role in keeping many men from seeking help with vulnerability, often seen as weakness.
Self-stigma is where you think you cannot get any help, and you think there is no help out there. So that is self-stigma. You are not willing to express. You think others are thinking the same, but possibly they're not thinking the same. Possibly if you express yourself, you will be helped. And of course, we still also have societal stigma, whereby what is expected of me as a man, maybe I do not have a job. I'm not able to take my children to school. I'm not able to take care of my wife. I am a nobody. So they start saying, you now, what are you? What kind of a man are you? So that's a category is under societal stigma. Culture, we come from different cultural contexts, and there are different expectations from the different cultural contexts. Let's say from the culture that I come from. From the culture that I come from, at my age, I should have established myself. I should be having a good, nice home, built a good, nice place of my own at home for retirement. I should be having some investment somewhere. Yet I'm in my 50s and nothing has happened. You know, in our culture, you know, in our society, we expect you should have done A, B, C, D, and you've not done it. So these are issues that wear so much down on a man and brings serious mental health issues as far as the man is concerned.
Managing depression in men takes more than just strength. It takes the courage to seek help and the right support to begin healing.
There is something called biopsychosocial model, where now we are asking ourselves, how can we psychologically help you? And one of the best ways of helping you, we usually say, seeking therapy, seeking support, talking to a counselor. Socially, we can also ask, who is your best friend? Who is that person who you can feel supported? We are trying to integrate you back to the society, integrating you back to the activities that you're doing before now you go to this space of isolating yourself. Biologically, you talked about psychiatrists. There are psychiatrists who prescribe medication to you, and that is also a way of management.
As men now, we need to break the silence and come out and talk. Say, I'm not feeling well. I'm depressed. I have no pleasure in this. I have these challenges as a man. I cannot feed my family. My wife wants to leave me. If I'm able to talk these things out, then I believe I'll get the support that I need. But if I keep quiet, that's where the problem is. So we are encouraging men to come out and express and be open and talk. And it's not a weakness. It's not a weakness that if you share your challenges, no, it's not a weakness. That's a strength. I can give an example of a friend that was really going through a serious depression. And what he used to do in the low-income areas, what he used to do is come to his house, take the key, lock the door from the outside, and enter through the window into the house. He'll be there. So if he wants to help himself, he uses the window, and then goes back. And nobody knew that this guy was passing through some serious depression. After 1 week, you're wondering, hey, what happened to our friend? We go to his place, you will find the padlock. You'll think he's not around. He's just inside. He's just inside. So eventually, some of us persisted in knocking, and then he responded. He said, hey, what's happening, friend? Life is not so easy for me. But we were able now to ask him to open the door. We were able to talk to him as friends. And by then, of course, it was not about taking him to a counselor or a therapist. What we did, we took him to a pastor to be able to pray with him and to just talk to him. And we also now became more closer to him. And we developed activities that together, we were able to together, like playing games. We used to play table tennis, some things that now help this man to come back to his senses.
While no single formula can guarantee that depression will never occur, we can lower the odds and soften its impact by building what psychologists call protective factors.
Look into yourself and ask yourself, what works for me in regards to self-care? Do I need to start going to social spaces and interact with people? Do I need to have close family members for support as a support system? So you need to actually be very, very intentional about self-care, because there are factors within you which can easily predispose you. And if you're not really conscious, then you can find yourself back to the space that you are. And of course, follow-up is important. And maybe lastly, support groups. There are very many support group persons who have had a series of or have been predisposed to depression. So it's good to ask yourself, what are some of the safe spaces I can be taking advantage of, so now I can be able to get support as well.
It's very important that we psychoeducate the society, the community, matters mental health, whether at the individual level, at the family level, and the societal level, that we create programs that will help people understand that this is now a challenge. It's not just something like in the past, it was just something, oh, mental health, mutu wazimu. No. It's now a societal issue whereby we need to educate the families, the community to understand that when somebody has certain behaviors, then how do we come in to help or support that person? Because for sure, if I'm self-stigmatizing, you do not expect me to come out there to seek for help. I need somebody to pull me out. I need somebody to hold me. I need somebody to walk with me. It can be my immediate friend. It can be who can take me to other professionals or caregivers. Then from that process, along the way, possibly I'll come back to my senses.
As we come to the end of today's episode, one truth stands clear. Depression in men is real, but so is hope. Behind the silence, the strength, and what society expects are men who feel, who hurt, and who deserve healing. Breaking the stigma starts with conversation, and healing begins the moment we choose compassion over judgment. If you or someone you love is struggling, know this: you are not alone, and help is within reach. Let's keep the dialogue going, because every story shared, every step towards support brings us closer to a world where mental health is treated with the care and dignity that it deserves. See you next time.